Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity of Music City. We're so glad to see everybody. Feel the energy in this room. Look at all these childrens. Miss Steph is back there going, yay, I think. All right, we're going to start off this morning by singing two songs back to back. Woke up this morning and I am the place. We're going to get our energy's already up, isn't it? So what we're going to do with these two songs is we are going to focus that energy into having a great service today. Here we go. Woke up this morning.
Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Rising and shining with my mind set on spirit. Rising and shining with my mind set on spirit. Rising and shining with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind set on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind set on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Take it up.
Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Woo, you guys are ready to sing today. All right, please remain standing. We're going to do one more time. I am the place where God shows up.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm staring at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes
do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, shows up.
This is you.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God shows up.
All right. Please be seated. All right, the kids are dismissed. If you want to go with Miss Steph, please go right ahead. Marching music.
There they go.
Good morning, Unity of Music City. Let's begin this portion of our service by taking a deep, centering breath. Today's centering statement is, I look for the good in every situation. As we go through life, we may find that we are inclined to compare who we are and what we have to others. But in reality, everything is neutral and everything is relative. In the end, meaning comes down to our perspective and perception. So no particular person, experience, emotion, or action should be seen as good or bad until you see it from the perspective of the big picture. Nothing and no one is inherently good or bad, and each situation we experience is an opportunity for learning. Everything is a spectrum of expression and energy, and there's more than one perspective on any situation or challenge. When life happens to us, we are conscious of the fact that there are always multiple ways to perceive it. And are we also conscious of the fact that the way we perceive something might not always be the way that others perceive it? The law of relativity. This law explains why two people can go through the same situation but have two entirely different experiences. Understanding this law can help us prioritize inner peace over defending the truth, because truth is relative anyway. In other words, we are the ones who assign meaning to things, so we can choose to regard things however we wish, as well as understand the tougher aspects of our life with greater compassion. When we remember that everything happens for us and not to us, we can begin to change our thoughts and actions to an attitude that enhances our lives. And when we show up for others in the presence of love, joy, and peace, we can change the outcome of every situation that we find ourselves in. I am mindful of how I perceive the truth in every situation. I am mindful of how I perceive the truth in every situation. I easily let go of the thoughts and things that don't serve me. I easily let go of the thoughts. When I am centered on the divine presence within, I show up as love, peace, and joy. When I am centered on the divine presence within, I show up as love, peace, and joy. And so it is.
Everything happens for me and not to me. That is something that I learn every day, sometimes hourly. Well, welcome to Unity of Music City, everyone. You are here by divine appointment. Whether or not you know why you're here today, your soul knows why you're here today. And you're here on behalf of the love, joy, and peace that reside deep inside of your DNA. It's your spiritual DNA. And it's the DNA that connects us all in oneness. That's correct. So we're so happy to see all your smiling faces. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's tuning in online. Everybody just wave your hand to everybody. That's it. They can see you. They appreciate you. I do believe we have some announcements this morning. Got a busy stuff going on. That's right.
No props today? Oh, I've got notes on my hand today.
Julie never disappoints.
So speaking of oneness, so yesterday was the 20th anniversary of the Tomato Arts Fest in East Nashville, right? And their theme is uniter, not divider. So I made a comment about someone's like dressed in like a banana. They're like uniter, not divider. You know, I'm like, oh yeah. So vegetables, fruits. So anyway, I worked a 12-hour shift yesterday, hence the notes. But just one of the songs that came to me was, John Denver, singer-songwriter, I'm Amazed, or I'm Amazed, yeah. And it was when the storm came through, and everybody was working together to put everything away for the storm for 2 hours, and then everybody put it right back, and had everything ready. So it was working together, reminded me, of us and what we do here. So it's an honor to be among you guys this morning. And the song was Come On In. I don't know how many times I said that, Come On In. I thought of the song, the God in you. Yeah, and I wanted to keep going, but I come on in and welcome and that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty much it for what I had. But it was quite a bit. The parade was great. I got pins thrown at me, beads, candy, and I did give back the candy to some, kept the beads, and an election T-shirt. Which yes, it was all good, you guys. So welcome to Unity of Music City this morning. All right, all activity or meeting links and phone numbers can be found on the website or weekly happenings, Google Calendar. You can always email the church. Thank you to everyone who donated items and or their time to make lunches for Save Paul. And can we do a quick round of applause for Sarah heading that up and everybody. It was just unbelievable. It was amazing. And because of you, we were able to make 276 lunches and an additional 68 sandwiches to feed those in our community who are experiencing homelessness or food insecurity. So well done, well done. We will continue to partner with Save Paul in the future, so watch announcements for upcoming details.
And we have peanut butter and jelly left over.
That's awesome. Smooth, right? It's a smooth, no crunchy. It was awesome, but it's still delish. Join us in an anniversary celebration service on Sunday, August the 20th, and that is next Sunday. And we will be celebrating our 1-year anniversary at Wren Road and Deb's 1-year installation. So another big hand clap. Thank you, guys. Crochet group for Centennial NICU babies. Contact Tammy C. for future dates and times. Her info is on the website. Tammy is right here in I said second row last week. It's third row, so there she is for questions. Spirituality and recovery every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Weekly meetings based on the 12-step recovery principles, literature-based and led by 30-plus year recovery members. All are welcomed who are interested in growing spiritually using the 12 steps. See Marge Hart for more information. Also third row right here by Tammy. Marge, thank you so much for doing that, you all. Teens Unplugged. Teens now have their very own monthly mindfulness meetup group called Teens Unplugged. This is for ages 12 to 17. The first meetup is tomorrow, August 14th from 6 to 7:30. And please bring a $10 donation for pizza. Sounds yummy. Great thing. Group meditation, Thursday, August 17th at 6:30 p.m. Guided and silent meditation during the session, facilitated by Deb Champion. Love donation appreciated. And Deb is also on the third row. You guys are great. Is this where I need to flip the page or later? Deb? Okay, not at the end just yet. A couple more, you guys. All right, so lost my place. The chakras and their function. Learn the hows of the chakras, how they work, how to feel them, and how to balance the chakra system. Taught by Deborah Champion, chakra healer. Saturday, August 19th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Wren Road, right here. $20 suggested fee. And I will flip over here. There's a little bit more on that. Discussion on building and presenter agreements, Saturday, August the 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We invite all those involved in planning and or supporting these types of events to join us for education and feedback. Wing Blade Falconry Immersive Experience. Yeah. Sunday, September 17th at 5 o'clock. Join us for a 2.5-hour close-up and personal encounter with falcons, hawks, and owls. This includes a presentation by Holly Lamar, owner of Wingblade, about the spiritual and practical history, uses, and symbolism of these magnificent raptors. Group size is limited, so sign up soon. It's right there in the back there. And you can get that signed up. Group size is limited, so sign up soon. $70 per person. It's normally $95, so it's a great deal. See Reverend Deb for additional information. And this is the little note here. One more. There's no slide on this one, but here we go. The painting. All right. Also from Deborah Champion here. We will be painting the large room on Monday and Tuesday, August 21st and 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. However, we need at least 6 volunteers, all ages, to get the job done. No experience necessary. All tools and equipment will be supplied. The sign-up sheets are also on the counter in the back. And thank you so much for participation. And you asked if we had announcements. Have a great week.
We need to pass out paper and pencil so we can make notes, right? So many of them, and that's awesome because we are an active spiritual community. And we are all about the chakras this month, aren't we? So what a better time to do the monthly mantra, right? Because this is the song that helps us align those chakras and get those chakras in shape for going about our week. So this week, or this month, we're doing Love Only Knows. We introduced it last week, and I want to highlight the second verse to you so that you can pay attention to it and sing along. Love knows no titles. Love knows no names. Love knows no history, no pride or shame. Love keeps no secrets. Love builds no walls. And I believe there's love in us all. So let's stand up and sing it. Love knows no distance, love knows no race, love knows no country, love knows no faith, love plays no favorites, love doesn't care who or why or what or where. Love only knows that love is real, making no distinctions. Love Love knows no titles, love knows no names, love knows no history, no pride or shame. Love keeps no secrets, love builds no walls, and I believe there's love in us all. Love only knows that love is real, making no distinctions. Love feels Love only knows.
Love only knows.
Love only knows.
Love only knows.
Willingly,
Love only knows.
faithfully,
Love only knows.
endlessly,
Love only knows.
perfectly, oh, perfectly, and love only knows that love is real, making no distinctions. Love feels, love goes beyond nature and need. How can this be? Love only knows. Love only knows. Love only knows. Love only knows. Please be seated.
Good morning, everybody. It is so wonderful to see everyone here today. And what a beautiful energy we already have in this space. The space where love is, where love lives. I invite you now to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Lower your shoulders. Let your body fully relax. If you need to, just send it the message that your divine essence has got this. The body can relax. To go to the space of only love. We have to set everything else aside. I invite you to put aside your outward identity. Your name, your face, your intellect. Set aside your sense of humor, your job. Set aside your to-do list. You can even set aside any outward distraction for a moment. Just let it be. Just let it be. Ignore the sound of children. Just let them be. Right now is the time for only love. To sit in the awareness of our divine essence, that which lives in us, as us, animates our physical being. The truest self, the highest self. And for just a moment, that's all we want here. The space of love. The awareness of love. only love in the silence. In the silence. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for always being there, waiting for us in the silence. We live in gratitude. Gratitude for the love that you are, for the love that we can always access, the love that we are in our most essential beingness. And so it is.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Always there for you. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Peace I leave with you. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Always there for you. Be still and know that I
breath. Good morning, everybody. If it sounds a little crunchy in here today, it's because we are operating on our portable sound system.
I'm pretty sure we blew that speaker on the first
We blew that speaker on the first two songs, so, you know, we're just rolling with it. We're just rolling with it. How about that? It's going to be, you guys, yeah. It's going to be what it's going to be. But at any rate, let me see if you know this. Do you know this? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know that? Do you know it? How do you know it? Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, a drop of golden sun. Mi, a name I call myself. Fa, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do, 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 do. All right, that's enough. Where's that from? No, all right, so where was it from before that? We know it's from Sound of Music. Do y'all know where do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do came from? Like, you know, everything on the planet was made up by somebody at one time, right? Everything on the planet was made up by somebody at one time. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do comes from a Benedictine monk named Guido di Arezzo. And I had to say it like an Italian. My best friend is Italian, so I asked her one time, I said, when I say things like Guido di Arezzo, is that like offensive? And she was like, what was wrong with the way you said that? But at any rate. So Guido di Arezzo was a Benedictine monk. He was an Italian music theorist. He lived, we believe, right around like the year 991 to about 1033. And he got the idea from India. Yes, of course, everything. I'm gonna, you know that movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding? I think we should do a remake, My Big Fat Indian Wedding. You know how the father in there is saying, I can trace everything back to Greece, right? You can trace almost everything back to India at some point too. So the Indian sargam, that's the word for applying a syllable to a musical note, is sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, right? Same 7 notes, the 7 notes of a major scale. There are 7 notes, even though we call it an octave, that's 8, right? But it's an octave because it's reached the first note again. 7 notes of the major. You didn't know this was going to be music theory today, did you? How interesting that there are 7 chakras. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? We're going to be talking about the chakras over the next, including today, 8 weeks. Today we're going to do a little bit of an overview. And let me just tell you something. If you wanted to know about the chakras, how many here, first off, you know what I'm talking, you know about the chakras? You've done a little bit of work. Some folks have, some folks haven't, right? So we're going to start at ground zero with this. But here's the thing. If you wanted to know about the chakras, and you went to Google and said, tell me about the chakras, Google, it's going to be like, you know that cartoon version where you hear an air horn and your hair's getting blown back like that? That's going to be what it's going to be like, because there's so much information out there about the chakras and the chakra system. Some of it is pretty consistent across the board. Some of it is conflicting depending upon the source that you get. It's all good. You sit with whatever feels true to you. Everybody who talks about the chakras will talk about them in slightly different ways. If you come to Deborah Champion's Saturday morning session this Saturday, and I encourage you all to do that, you're going to get Deborah's insight into the chakra system. She's been working with them for a long time. I think that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. I also want to let you know, since we're going to be spending time with this for the next basically 2 months, we have our little chakra. Don't they look nice up there on the front? Looks so nice, yeah. And then also on the back wall over there, Crystal has found these 3 posters that have incredible information. It cost her about a couple bucks to run those. So we're gonna if you want to buy some, they're gonna be $4 a pop. There's an order form back there. The kitchen island is becoming like information central. So anytime you want to sign up for anything, there are 72 sign up forms on the back back there for signing up for whatever you need. But that's for the falcons going to the falconry, and it's for the chakras and all kinds of stuff. So you might want to go back after the service, look at those. Those have great information on them. If you want to order some, and Crystal will get those printed up for you. So what are chakras? The word we often hear people say that chakra means wheel. Chakra really means disc, right? It's like a spinning disc of energy. That was really handy back when I remember a lot of chakra teachers, yoga teachers, Kundalini yoga teachers would talk about, you always want to talk about chakras with a kind of metaphor. And so they would say, isn't it, it's like a disk of information, like the floppy disk in your computer. That metaphor doesn't work anymore. If I tell my students anything about a floppy disk, they look at me like I'm 103 years old, right? They're like, do you remember when the wheel was invented too? But at any rate, what these are spinning disks of energy that you can't really see. They're invisible. They are the invisible energy centers in our subtle body, our energetic body. Just like you have a physical body, you have an energy body. And there are these subtle energy centers. The chakras are first mentioned in the earliest Vedic scriptures. Now, we like things that have been around for a long time, don't we? We like, they've stood the test of time. There must be some validity in that. But I want us to kind of get away from that just a little bit, because the truth is, in spiritual matters, there is no older or later. There is no better or less than. There is no first or last. In spiritual matters, it's just all there. There's no dimension in spirit in that kind of way. And so, does it matter that they've been around for a long time? Yes and no. But they're mentioned in the earliest Vedic scriptures. So the very first of the Vedas, these are some of the scriptural text of Hinduism. The very first one is called the Rig Veda. And to put that in context for you, that was first written down before any of the books of the Old Testament. All right, just to put it into context for you. With the possible exception of Job. Job is considered by theologians to be the oldest book of the Old Testament. They're not really sure when Job was written, but in the book of Job, they don't make reference to any other event in the Bible. And they believe that it predates everything else. But nonetheless, even before the Rig Veda was first written down, it had been shared orally in Hindu culture for thousands of years before that. The Rig Veda, Veda just means knowledge, by the way. Rig means praise. So the very first scripture written down was the knowledge of praise, the knowledge of gratitude, the knowledge of recognition of the divine in your life, right? They didn't talk about, in the Rig Veda, they didn't talk about chakras in quite the same way that we talk about them today. There is more of a tendency to talk about it kind of like the way we would talk about the wheel of the year or the wheel of time, big macro kind of wheels, as opposed to the specific energy centers in our body, but they are somewhat addressed in that way. The modern Western chakra system that we all kind of have looked up and that made up these colors and these shapes and all this kind of stuff, it's been developed over about the last 140 to 150 years. I don't have a problem with newer information, and here's why. We're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to evolve. So we should have newer and newer understandings of the way things are, right? They originated kind of with a woman named Helena Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky was a Russian woman who started the Theosophy movement, Theosophists. And the Theosophist is kind of bridged a gap between Eastern mysticism and Western religious ideology. Madame Blavatsky had visited India. Almost everybody I mentioned to you today, anybody who's ever talked about chakras has visited India, it seems like, at some point. And so she had a lot of input from Hindu thought. She was a pivotal figure in the origins of the New Age and the New Thought movement that's been happening over these last 150 years. And just briefly, I'm going to give you a little background into this. There was a whole lot of stuff that was happening in the 1880s, 1890s, that kind of period of time. I look back and I think that sometimes there are periods where there's just spiritual energy is really high. If you go back, Lao Tzu, Confucius, and Buddha all lived at the same time. They could have been friends. They were all alive on this planet at the same time, about 500 to 600 years before Jesus walked the earth, right? And so I've always looked at that there must have been some spiritual flowering happening during that time. The same can be said for the latter part of the 19th century. Charles Fillmore, who was the founder of Unity, he started Unity in 1889. And in case something is, if you still think that something that's older is better, I find it interesting that Unity is older than the church I grew up in, the Nazarene Church, which was founded in 1908, right? But is mainstream and is considered, but Unity is older than that. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. One of the biggest influences in all of this was Ralph Waldo Emerson and his writings about New England Transcendentalism in the 1840s and 1850s. That was really central to all of this thought. But there were two important books written in the early 20th century that really started to drive this discussion about chakras. One was a book called The Serpent Power in 1919, written by Sir John Woodruff. He wrote under the pseudonym Arthur Avalon. He was an English lawyer turned student of Tantric Yoga. He's got a great backstory. He was an English lawyer in colonial India, and he was trying to try a case. He was presenting a case, defending somebody or whatever, prosecuting somebody, one or the other. And during this case, he was having the hardest time focusing his mind. He was just completely I can't think, I can't wrap my brain around this. And then someone said to him, oh, well, didn't you know that right outside the courthouse, there's a tantric yogi who has been chanting a mantra for the purpose of making you confused? And so he said, show me this guy. So they went out and showed him. He told the police officers, of course, the British police officers who, had all the power. He said, move him away from here. He said he went back in and his mind immediately cleared up. He did his case, all this and then he was like, I got to know what this guy knows. And so he became a student of Tantric Yoga for the rest of his life and an important figure in this. So the Serpent Power. And then in 1927, there was another book called The Chakras, written by Charles Leadbetter, who was a former Anglican priest turned theosophist. And we have this growing body of knowledge about this information. It would be hard for me to talk about this also without mentioning this guy, Carl Jung. It's hard to overstate his importance in a lot of areas, right? If someone said to me, you need to teach a graduate seminar on psychology, but you can only teach one authoritative figure, it would not be a bad choice to say I'm going to choose Carl Jung. If someone said, you need to teach a graduate seminar on literary symbolism, but you can only teach one person, it would not be a bad choice to teach Carl Jung. If someone said you need to do a graduate seminar on mythology and the archetypes of the mythological systems, but you can only, Carl Jung. This guy is kind of more than anything else, probably best represents the intersection of mind, body, and spirit that is represented in a study of the chakras, because the chakras really are where this mind, body, spirit connection kind of comes together. In 1932, Carl Jung gave a series of lectures talking about the symbolism of the chakra system of Kundalini Yoga. So that gives it a little bit of maybe validity here. Anybody have one of these at home? Have you ever seen? I have one of those at home. Same color, it's gray. I think GE made it, I'm not sure. It looks just like it. I was gonna bring it in, but as a visual, it was pretty small. So I put a picture up there. So what this does is if you have a plug that has 3 prongs, and usually it's in an old house where you still have an outlet that only has 2 holes, right? You got a 3-pronger, you gotta stick it into those 2 holes of an outlet. And so what do? I actually have some old extension cords at home that only have 2 holes in them, right? And so my Christmas lights, stuff like that, I gotta use that converter to plug it in. It's also called a cheater plug, by the way. That's what they call it. They're outlawed in Canada. You can get healthcare in Canada, but you can't get this plug right here. Because it's a little bit dangerous to use them. Like you're taking a certain current of energy and you're putting it into I don't know. You got to have some kind of engineering degree. But it's apparently a little bit dangerous. So it's called a cheater plug. Is it cheating or is it expediting? That's what one of my students asked me one day. Is it cheating or is it expediting? But I kind of like to think of the chakras as the cheater plugs of spiritual understanding. Like you need this adapter, this connector between your spiritual essence and your physical reality that you're living in every day. How do I bridge that gap? And understanding, working with, studying the chakras can sometimes help us make that connection between our divine essence, which is simple, and our human experience, which is complex. Super complex. How do I plug all those wires in, all those wires that you guys have been dealing with, plugging in over here? How do I plug all those wires in a way to just get beautiful sound out? Right? To just have the vibration come out. Often, they often use the metaphor of computer programs as well for the chakras. And just like a computer program is something you do not see, and yet it determines all the outcomes that you're going to get. It absolutely drives everything that you're going to get out of that computer. And that's what the chakra system is like. There is a book, I've got it right here, by Anadea Judith called Eastern Body, Western Mind. And it's kind of considered the modern Bible in a way. This is like an essential text for working with the chakras. I think it was published in like the late 90s, something like that. Pardon me? Eastern Body, Western Mind by Anadea Judith. So she's kind of one of the, we're going to use a lot of her stuff. This is what she says. The body is the vehicle, consciousness the driver, yoga is the path, and the chakras are the map. We got to have a map to get where we're going. We have to understand how we work with this physical existence, this material reality that we work with. So, as I mentioned, there's so much chakra information, and I am not the knower of all things chakra. It's not who I am. I'm not the knower of all things anything. But I got a big mouth, and I can talk about things. So that's what we're going to do. But here's the thing. Over the next 7 weeks, we're going to be talking mostly about the energies, the emotions, the blocks, the challenges. Next week is going to be a tough one for me. I'm just going to warn you ahead of time when we start working with the first chakra, because there's some heavy-ish that can come out when you're dealing with the first chakra, and it's been up for me lately. So I'm probably going to be pretty vulnerable with you next week, but don't worry, I won't be too exposed. All right, so let's introduce ourselves to the chakras. The chakras are these 7 spinning energy centers. They're kind of like the spine of the energy body you can think about. There are a lot of other chakras in the body. This is just an energy center. That's all it means, the spinning disk of energy. Throughout your arms and your legs, a lot of people use the 12 chakra system. There's actually beyond the 7 chakras. There's one below that's like the seed chakra, the star seed or earth seed chakra. And then they add 5 more up above the crown chakra. There's also a 114 chakra system. We're just going to deal with 7. So right now we're going to start with an overview, but we'll dive into those emotions, energies, and blockages over the next 7 weeks. So let's start from the very beginning. Those are the 7. We start at the bottom with the Muladhara, or the root chakra. Now I'm going to give you some really just information. Don't sit there and think, oh, I should take notes. You know what? We're going to unpack this over the next couple of 7 weeks, so this is all going to come back around. The Muladhara chakra is located kind of at the base of the spine. It's actually located at the perineum, and I'll let you go Google that later, okay? But at any rate, it's at the base. The color is red. And it is depicted with a 4-petaled lotus that often represents the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and air. It's also said to represent the 4 areas of consciousness: mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego. Right? It can represent any 4 things you want it to represent. Always keep this in mind. Take what feels true, leave alone what doesn't. All right? The square, this is the only one that has a square in it, and that square represents kind of foundational life energy. If you have a square on the ground, you can't tip it over, right? It's solid. A cornerstone of a building is a square. Sometimes it's a rectangle, but just go with me. It's a square, all right? It represents this foundational energy, and then you have the inverted triangle, which is the elemental symbol of earth, and the element for the root chakra is earth. It's about groundedness, and it deals with all of those kinds of issues. The second chakra is the Swadhisthana chakra. In Sanskrit, they don't say V's, they say them as W's usually, Swadhisthana chakra. The sacral chakra. It's located in the lower abdomen about, they say about 4 fingers below the navel, right in this area right here. Its color is orange, and it's depicted as a 6-petaled lotus, which is said to represent the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. Birth, death, and rebirth. That's why from Hinduism we get the earliest ideas and the most thorough discussions of things like reincarnation. Because there's this idea of life being cyclical and us coming back and do it again is very, very Hindu. You notice at the bottom of this one, you can see it over here too on these, there's a crescent at the bottom. There's like a moon crescent in the center. And so that moon crescent kind of represents cycles. If there's anything the moon represents, it's cycles, right? It's constant change, constantly changing. We often talk about the full moon as being like, oh, today's the full moon. The full moon is an instant. The equinoxes and the solstices are an instant in time, right? And so in that, because the moon is always changing, even when it looks full all evening long, it's constantly undergoing some change. And so this represents kind of flow, this ongoing flow. So think about the impact the moon has on water. It causes the tides, and therefore we know that the element for Swadhisthana is water. The third chakra up is the Manipura. All of these chakra names have meanings, which we're going to unpack and talk about over the next 7 weeks. Manipura means city of gems. And it's located between the navel and the bottom of the rib cage, but right about here, right here, the solar plexus. The color is yellow. Let me tell you, the very first time I ever had an aura photograph taken. Y'all ever had one of those taken? An aura photograph? I was in Sedona about 20 years ago, and I had an aura photograph taken, and it came back and the whole dang thing was yellow. I mean, it's just yellow. Yellow, yellow, yellow. The person was like, well, we know what chakra you need to work on. And I'm like, it could be that's the only chakra I know about, right? I got it going on. I got yellow covered. It has changed since then, by the way. The last one I had done was completely different. It's depicted as a 10-petaled lotus, representing the 10 pranas that converge in this region. Now, prana means breath, but we can think about that a little bit bigger. Prana as life force, vital energy, and right here is where those pranas are said to gather. If you ever take a vocal music class, if you've ever had a choir class or you've had an independent voice class or something like that, a good vocal teacher is going to talk a lot about this area. Yep. As a matter of fact, I had a voice teacher in high school who said the best singer in our high school, she pulled him up and he had what we would call a muffin top. I have no idea what that is. But at any rate, he had this right here, and she said, you see this right here? That's his voice right there. That's not fat, that's his voice right there, right? And so that's what I tell myself. I have a whole city of gems right here, right? But at any rate, when you're singing, when you're breathing, they'll say, don't do shallow breathing, breathe from the belly. Breathe from down here, because this is where the muscle is that pulls the lungs down and creates the void for the air to enter. So this is prana. The element is fire. So maybe that's why I'm an Aries. Maybe that's why my picture was all yellow. It's a fire sign. The middle one, the fourth one, right in the middle is the anahata, or the heart chakra, located right in the center of the chest. It actually is kind of behind the heart, really. And that name means unstruck. We're going to talk a lot about that when we talk about the heart chakra. It's green, and it's depicted as a 12-petaled lotus. We just keep adding petals to our lotus. But here's one thing. Since I said that, I want to stop and say this. Don't ever get deluded into thinking that this is a ladder that you climb, right? We're going up and down it all the time. There is no chakra that's better than the other. You can't, you don't get like a Girl Scout badge from Unity that says, I am a 7th chakra awakened being. No, it doesn't work that way, right? You can be the most awakened, enlightened being on the planet dealing with root chakra issues, right now. And so this is the 12-petaled lotus, though. There are varying stories about the origin of the 12-petal flower. They all seem to stem from issues of love and fear and hate. But notice in the center there's the six-pointed star, or as it is always depicted, as two triangles overlapping each other, inverted and overlapping each other. And that kind of represents relationship, masculine and feminine energy, yin and yang. It also demonstrates how the heart chakra is the connective chakra between the lower chakras and the upper chakras. This is where it all meets, in the heart of love. The element is air. You can remember that in that those lungs that fill with air guard that chakra. It's on either side. There's air all around it. The next chakra, the fifth chakra, is the Vishuddha chakra, and that is the throat chakra. Its color is blue or turquoise. It's a light blue. It's located right here in the throat. It's depicted with 16 petals that are said to represent the 16 vowels of the Sanskrit language, because this is where we're dealing with communication and expression and language. This element, we've run out of the 4 elements, now we got to add different ones, is said to be space or ether. Right? The 6th chakra is the Ajna chakra, also called the third eye chakra. It's right between the eyebrows. If you go over to India, you will be greeted with a little mark on your forehead. You'll see a lot of different, sometimes you can tell what sect a person is a member of by the kind of markings that they have right here on their forehead, but this is a really important area. I remember years ago when we had anybody around years ago at the old building when we had the Maori healers from New Zealand? You remember those folks? Yeah. Yeah. You're still what? Still bruised from that, yeah. They were like, you just had to suck it up, buttercup, and deal with it, but they were going to heal you of something. But they would greet each other by touching foreheads and just being there for a moment with each other, right? Just being there. Not like this. I mean like this, right? Touching foreheads. And it really is an incredibly intimate kind of experience. It's depicted with 16 petals. I told you this, marking the 16 vowels of the Sanskrit language. All right, next one. Top one, the Sahasrara chakra. Sahasrara chakra is the crown chakra. And you notice how it is got the Om symbol there in the middle. So does the throat chakra, as a matter of fact. Actually, the throat chakra usually has it on most. This top chakra is... Oh, I missed... Oh, no, I missed something. Let's go back. Go back. That's okay. Let me pick up on this because I jumped on my notes here, so that's okay. Between the eyebrows, it's depicted with 2 petals. That's what I wanted to talk about, representing wisdom and enlightenment. It's got the upside-down triangle. That one's got the Om symbol, right, from right here. This is where we start to get insight. Its element is light. Let the light shine. Now we get to the Sahasrara crown chakra, located on the top of the head and just above, really, kind of up above like my hair right now. Its color is technically white, but it's also depicted as purple a lot of times. And it's depicted as a 1,000-petal lotus. There's not really 1,000 petals on there, don't count them. But the idea is a 1,000-petaled lotus. It's said to come from, and all the children are, yeah, pretty much. It's said to say that the most blissful thing you can possibly do in the physical form, that the emotional spiritual bliss is 1,000 times that. That 1,000 times the bliss. The element is universal energy. Now, each of these is also represented by emotions or psychological states. And I'm just going to hit on this briefly, right? Because we're going to dive into these over the course of the next 7 weeks. The root chakra deals with issues of basic trust, security, safety. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of need. It doesn't exactly line up with this, but the same general idea is there. In unity, there is Charles Fillmore, who created unity, created what we call the 12 powers of man. Y'all remember the 12 powers, right? Some of you who've been around unity for a while, the 12 powers of man. I'll be talking about that a little bit as they relate, but not a great deal. But in that root chakra, the 12 powers of man, that's the power of life, right? That is the power of life, and the beginning of all life is that safety and that security. The sacral chakra deals with sexuality and creativity, desire, pleasure, joy, shame, right? So it deals with some pretty heavy stuff that we can carry there. The solar plexus deals with wisdom, power, confidence, purpose, self-motivation, assertiveness. 12 powers in unity has wisdom right here, right? What is your gut instinct? It also has, by the way, the 12 powers also have strength and order in the same area there. Strength, order, wisdom. This is how we get stuff done right here. In the heart, it's the love chakra, the healing, the peace, the compassion, the grief, the rejection, right? Because for all of these wonderful energies, we also have these issues that we have to deal with. Issues of attachment. This is where unconditional love lives. So it's where the conditions get placed onto our life. And then we have the the throat chakra, which is communication, expression. In Unity's 12 powers, this is power. This is where your power comes from. Your ability to express yourself, your ability to speak your truth. And because you speak your truth from here, one of the problems is lying. And that doesn't mean, oh, she's a liar. Are you lying to yourself? Are you expressing your truth in the fullest of its honesty, your spiritual honesty, right? And so you have that right there. By the way, Unity 12 powers, right in the back of that, this is where we have this chakra, and we have power, we have communication, the throat chakra. But the 12 powers in the very back is, anybody remember what that is? Back of the head, 12 powers? Zeal. This is your zeal for life, right? This is feeling, the only way you can feel zeal for life is stand in your truth. Stand in your power, right? So we'll be talking about that. Then we have the third eye chakra, which deals with awareness, intuition, insight, perception, clarity, understanding, spiritual connection, transcendent wisdom. And in the 12 powers, imagination is right here. Our ability to see what could be, our ability to understand, to see the big picture, right? And then we have the crown chakra, which deals with spirituality, consciousness, spiritual awakening, the divinity that elevates all of the other chakras, right? It's said that the crown chakra, you can't really fully have that open until you got to have all those other, like, it elevates all the other emotions that you're dealing with, all the other energies that you're dealing with. So the title of this series is Manifestation and Transformation Through the Chakras. And I want to just briefly show you what we mean by that. There's upward and downward flow that we can talk about. Now, there's flow going all different ways. Energy goes all different ways all the time. But when we talk about manifestation, that's the downward current. We're bringing things from our intention, from our thought, down into physical reality, and that's how we manifest. And when we bring things up, that's our current of, Anodea Judith calls it the current of liberation. I'm calling it the current of transformation, the current where we rise above, the transcendent current, where we become spiritually enlightened. And both those things can be happening at the same time. Right? You can be in both flows at the same time. The chakras also have frequencies, and I'm not going to get deep into this because, man, you thought music theory was rough. I mean, this is like, whatever. But I do want to mention this. They all have like frequencies and hertzes and vibrations and all that kind of stuff. And they've got musical notes. Now, let me just tell you, there's a big argument in the chakra community, because there is a chakra community apparently, about what note the root chakra starts on. You're going to find a whole lot of folks who say it starts on C, right? There's other folks who say, nope, we think it starts on A. How did middle C become the center of the musical universe? You know what I'm saying? You know, just like do, re, mi, somebody's got to make up all that stuff. How did notes get their names? You know, this goes all the way back to Pythagoras and the ancient Greeks. Like Pythagoras started with A, and he named that as the lowest note a man can sing. I don't know which man he was talking to. But nonetheless, that's what A was supposed to be, and it went all the way up. By the way, back then it went all the way past G. It was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, all these different notes. We just narrowed it down, right? And so we have this A, B, C. Middle C became kind of like the key. It's like the center of all of Western music. And so is that why do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? Is that why we start? I don't know. Here's what I know. Whatever feels right to you, go with it. Go with it. And I'm using this one as starting on A because that one tends to feel right for me. I've got some homework for you. What I'd like you to do is two things. Number one is I'd like you to seek out some music or guide that you can use as a tool working with the chakras. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. This is an album by a singer named Sophia. She's also known as Sophia Song Healer. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. You can get this on your Apple Music or your Spotify or whatever. This album is all chakra healing chants. She uses starting on A. The root chakra is A. All I can tell you is this. I also have her, I have a spirit playlist on my Apple Music, and I'll sometimes put it on shuffle. And when one of her songs comes up, I'll go, oh yeah, that's sacral chakra. I can feel it. I can feel it right there. So I can feel these. This is like, the whole album's like 57 minutes long. You can sit there and do a beautiful 1 hour meditation, just rising right up your chakras, and every one of those changes keys, and you can feel it. So you could do something like this. This is beautiful, by the way. I absolutely love this album. I listen to it almost, well, I would say almost daily, but not quite. If you prefer something starting on C, there's a suggestion. Dean Evenson has an album called Chakra Healing. He's a flute player, so this is less vocal music, no chants. The other one has some chants and some different sounds that are being made vocally, but he's a flute player, so it's all flute. Starts on C. You might listen to this one and go, oh no, that feels like the root chakra to me. Great, go with that. Go with whatever feels for you. Right? And then if you're like, I don't like music at all, I just like drums. Well, you can go with the rhythms of the chakras, which is a fantastic album as well with Glenn Velez, who's an absolutely beautiful album of different rhythms that line up with the different chakras. Also, so here's that's one thing. One piece of homework is to do that. The second piece of homework is to figure out a way where you can, in your own way, take notes. Like, get yourself a chakra notebook right now, or something that just a little journal that you can sit there and go, this is what this means to me. Because this is what we're engaging on, is a journey where you're going to become a big guide for yourself. And you're going to have to be, what am I feeling right now? What do I feel when we think about this? Boy, I liked all of Deb's talks on the chakra, but man, I was uncomfortable the whole time she was talking about the sacral chakra. Wonder what that's about, right? So that's what I'm asking you to do, those two things. Now, here's the last thing I want to say. This was a lot of background and nitty-gritty and stuff of that nature, and this is a framework upon which we can hang our spiritual understanding. But we just finished a 4-week series on spiritual freedom, and we're not going to forget the fact that we are here for freedom. I am here for freedom. What matters most of all is my awareness of spiritual essence. And so we devote this study to expanding our understanding of the divine essence that you are. If it doesn't do that, put it aside. Anything that gets in the way of that, challenges it, blocks it, restricts it, just set it aside for right now. Let nothing get between you and your understanding, your experience of the divine essence that you are. The goal here is the free flow of energy through both our entire system, our physical body, our subtle body, our energetic body, the free flow of energy through all of that, illuminating the Christ consciousness that you are, shining the light on the transcended self that is the essence of you, mapping your way to an unimpeded connection with Source. That's the goal. That's the point. You are the light of the world. And this room, I don't know if you've noticed, has more than one light switch. And it may be that you've got more than one light switch too, right? And you've got to open up. You've got to figure out, I'm cooking with gas on this area right here, but this area has got me blocked up. Or I just don't even want to think about it at all. We want to turn on all the light switches so that your illumination can grow as bright as it can possibly be as we work through this study together. I'm looking forward to it. I have so much to learn. So join me on this journey. Namaste. Cha-cha-cha-cha.
Thank you so much, Rev Deb. I just feel like I need to kind of take a breath and let my mind kind of whoo from all of that. So let's just slip into a place of gratitude. That's easy for a lot of us. And think about what we are grateful for at this point in our lives. And I'm going to start off today by saying I am grateful for Jackson and Candy that show up every Sunday and play great music for all of us. I am grateful for Jackson and Candy. Absolutely. And I am grateful for Frank Castellano in my life, who shows me every day what true love really means. So take just a moment and yell it out. What are you grateful for today? Family? This community? Your students? One more. Walter and Kate. We love all of you. Thank you so much.
You hear that?
We're grateful for the opportunity to be able to give back to this spiritual community also. And we know that we give of our time, our talent, and our treasures. We are especially in need of your treasures at this point, our finances, because it's just normal for spiritual communities during the summertime. You know, a lot of people are out vacations, but we need to ramp that back up and kind of make up for the lost few months. So just remember that as you give back to your spiritual community. We appreciate that because everything that you give goes back into this spiritual community and the community at large, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. So there in the back, you see the blue vase that you can put your paper tithes. There's a PayPal code there for you to use if you want to donate via PayPal, and the Kroger Rewards card, and you can also volunteer. We need volunteers expeditiously. Thank you so much for doing that. And let's say our offertory affirmation together, and let's say it with a smile on your face. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give. Because we live in a world of infinite abundance. So let's all sing this together. This is some of this may be new to you, but let's learn it together. I live in the midst of infinite abundance. I give freely and fearlessly to life. I live in the midst of infinite abundance, and life gives back to me. I live in the midst of infinite abundance. I give freely and fearlessly to life. I live in the midst of infinite abundance, and life gives back to me. And life gives back to me. It sure does. Well, let's all stand and say the prayer for protection as we prepare to leave. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's shine our light. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. One more time. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you right back here next Sunday. Bye, everybody online.